Where do you want me to start? What do you want me to tell you?
Tell me about him. Who is he? What's he? You know.
I ain't gonna tell you too
I
much,
know he
but
played basketball.
He does play basketball. Him and Dad actually have a lot of similarities. He used to play for the Kings like years ago. So
Hold on. Wait, stop the press. He used to play for the King.
Yes.
Shannon, you lying to me. This you
I
kept
tried-
this close to your chest like I've never seen, Benna.
What would you do if you discovered that the life you believed in for decades was built on a secret? A secret that the people closest to you protected for years. Imagine raising a child, loving her, guiding her, celebrating every birthday, every school achievement, every moment that made you proud to be a father, only to wake up one day and realize that the truth you trusted might not be real. That's exactly the nightmare that former NBA player Doug Christie is now living through. For years, Doug believed he had the perfect family. From the outside, everything looked solid. His marriage to Jackie Christie seemed strong, their household appeared united, and their daughter Chantel was the center of their world. Fans who followed the family through interviews and reality television thought they were watching a couple who had survived the pressures of fame.
Hello. It was rude of me. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Chantel. I'm Jackie's daughter. Nice to meet you. In a little while. I'm Chantel, Jackie's daughter. Nice to meet you.
But what nobody expected was that one quiet DNA test would uncover a secret that could shatter everything. Because according to the results, Doug wasn't Chantel's biological father. The truth was far more shocking. The DNA pointed to someone Doug knew very well, someone from his past, former teammate at NBA star Chris Webber. Suddenly, what looked like a normal family story turned into something much darker: betrayal, secrets, and a question that refuses to go away. How could something like this stay hidden for so long? To understand how this situation exploded into a public scandal, you have to go back to the beginning, long before the DNA test, before the rumors, and before the accusations started tearing this family apart.
Don't really recall like a family photo that we all took together. She was always like the outcast. Like my mom would go as far as to, Car, you have to run on the treadmill, and Shannon, you stand there and watch her, and you write down what time she got on and what time she got off. It's ridiculous. Like she's like 12. I'm like 8. Like you want me to stand here and watch her run on this treadmill because she's not the size that I am, or she's not the color that I am.
Back in the 1990s, Doug Christie was building a reputation as one of the most disciplined players in the NBA. Known for his defense, work ethic, and calm personality, he wasn't the loudest star on the court, but people respected him. Around that time, he met Jackie. Their relationship quickly became intense. Jackie was outspoken, confident, and fiercely protective of her family. While Doug was quiet and focused on basketball, Jackie was never afraid to speak her mind. In many ways, they balanced each other. Over time, their marriage became something fans talked about constantly. They renewed their wedding vows year after year, turning the tradition into a symbol of their commitment. To outsiders, it looked romantic. To their supporters, it proved their love was unbreakable.
Blows my mind. It really just, it disgusts me because that was another thing. Like for years, my sister and I, we didn't speak to each other. No relationship whatsoever because she always played us against each other. She's fat and she's black and you're skinny and you need to stay in shape and you're the model, and it blows my mind.
Their daughter, Chantel, grew up in the middle of that story. Doug treated her like any proud father would. He showed up for school events, supported her dreams, and always spoke about her with deep affection. Anyone watching would assume that bond was unshakable. But behind the scenes, small moments began planting seeds of doubt in Doug's mind. Nothing obvious at first, just tiny details that didn't quite add up. Sometimes it was timing. Sometimes it was old conversations that suddenly felt strange when he thought about them later. But like many people in long marriages, Doug pushed those thoughts away. He convinced himself that he was overthinking things.
After all, families aren't perfect. And doubt can destroy relationships if you let it grow too much. So he stayed silent. Years passed. Life moved forward. Doug retired from basketball and focused on business ventures and family life. Jackie expanded her presence in entertainment, appearing on the reality series Basketball Wives, where her bold personality quickly made her one of the most talked about cast members. Their marriage became part of her public image. She often described Doug as her soulmate, someone she trusted completely. But here's the twist. Sometimes the stories people tell the world are not the same ones happening behind closed doors. Eventually, Doug reached a point where the questions in his mind became impossible to ignore. He didn't confront Jackie. He didn't accuse anyone. Instead, he decided to quietly search for answers. Without telling anyone, Doug ordered a DNA test through a private lab. It was a decision that would change everything. When the results arrived, Doug sat alone as he read the report, and what he saw made his heart drop. The test showed no biological relationship between him and Chantel, 0%. For a moment, the world felt unreal. How could that be possible? Doug had been in Chantel's life since the very beginning. He had raised her, protected her, and loved her unconditionally. The idea that they weren't biologically connected felt impossible to accept. That Doug needed certainty. So he did something that would uncover an even bigger secret. He ordered another DNA comparison. This time, he requested testing between Chantel and someone from his past, his former teammate, Chris Webber. Doug and Chris had spent years in the same basketball circles. They shared locker rooms, practices, and long road trips. They trusted each other, or at least Doug thought they did. When the second test results came back, the number on the page was almost impossible to believe, a 99.998% match. According to the report, Chris Webber was almost certainly Chantel's biological father. The moment Doug realized the truth, everything about his past suddenly looked different. Old memories took on new meaning. Conversations he once ignored now felt suspicious. And the biggest question of all began echoing in his mind. Did Jackie know? For days, Doug said nothing. No public statements, no social media posts, just silence. But behind that silence, something was changing. Because once a secret like this comes to light, it doesn't stay buried. Eventually, the confrontation happened. Doug approached Jackie with the results. According to people close to the situation, the conversation was intense and emotional. Jackie reportedly denied everything at first. She questioned the accuracy of the tests and insisted that Doug was Chantel's father. But Doug had already prepared for that response. He showed her both reports, 2 separate labs, 2 identical conclusions. The truth was staring them in the face, and at that moment, the story Jackie had told for decades started falling apart. But what nobody expected was what happened next. Instead of admitting the truth immediately, Jackie reportedly tried to protect the story she had built for years, because that story wasn't just about family. It had become part of her public brand. Fans knew her as the fiercely loyal wife who adored her husband. That image had been repeated in interviews, reality shows, and countless public appearances. Admitting the truth would mean admitting that the entire narrative had been false. And according to reports circulating around the case, Jackie allegedly made a desperate decision. She tried to convince Chantel to stay quiet. One detail that shocked many people involved a reported attempt to offer money in exchange for silence. Sources claim Jackie gave Chantel $15,000, along with a handwritten note asking her to protect the family. But the plan didn't go the way she hoped. Instead of accepting the money, Chantel reportedly handed everything over to Doug's legal team. That decision changed the entire situation. Now the case wasn't just about paternity, it was about deception, possible fraud, and an attempt to cover up the truth.
Doug's lawyers quickly began preparing legal action. The lawsuit accuses Jackie and Chris Webber of knowingly allowing Doug to believe he was Chantel's father for more than 20 years. According to the filing, Doug spent hundreds of thousands of dollars supporting Chantel's upbringing, including education, healthcare, and everyday expenses. But the financial part is only one piece of the story. The emotional damage is much deeper. Imagine discovering that the identity you carried as a father was built on misinformation. Imagine realizing that two people you trusted may have known the truth the entire time. That's the reality Doug is now facing. When the case finally reached the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. Reporters filled the seats, fans followed every update, and everyone waited to hear what each person would say. Doug spoke calmly. He didn't shout or accuse anyone in anger. Instead, he explained something simple.
For 20 years, he believed he was living an honest life. But according to him, that life was built on a lie he never agreed to. Then, Jackie took the stand. At first, she sounded confident. She insisted that she never intentionally tried to deceive Doug. But under questioning, her story became complicated. When asked if she ever suspected Doug might not be Chantel's biological father, Jackie admitted that she had doubts many years ago. Instead of confirming those doubts, she chose to move forward as if everything was normal, and that decision changed the course of several lives. Finally, Chris Webber appeared in court. Until that moment, he had remained mostly silent about the situation, but when he spoke, his statement surprised many observers. Chris admitted that he had suspected for years that Chantel might be his daughter. However, he claimed he avoided confirming it because he didn't want to destroy Doug's family. Whether that explanation satisfies the court remains to be seen, because the question many people are asking now is simple. If he suspected the truth, why stay silent for so long? As the legal battle continues, the consequences are already spreading through every part of this family's life. Jackie's reputation has taken a serious hit. Some business partnerships have reportedly ended. Projects connected to her public image are now under review, and the brand she spent years building is facing intense scrutiny. But the emotional toll on Chantel may be the most heartbreaking part of all. For her entire life, she believed Doug was her biological father. Now, she's caught between three adults whose decisions shaped her identity. In private conversations with therapists, she has reportedly said something that left many people reflecting on the situation.
She doesn't hate anyone involved. She just wants the truth. Because at the center of every scandal, every lawsuit, and every accusation is a young woman trying to understand who she really is. Doug's legal team is pushing the case forward with a goal that goes beyond financial compensation. They want the court to recognize paternity fraud as a serious civil offense. If the case succeeds, it could influence future family law cases across the country. Right now, many courts treat situations like this as private family disputes. But Doug's lawyers argue that knowingly misrepresenting a child's paternity for decades should carry real legal consequences. Support for Doug has grown quickly online. Within days of the story spreading, thousands of people began sharing their opinions. Some believe Jackie and Chris should have told the truth years ago. Others argue that the situation is complicated and that everyone involved made mistakes. But one thing is clear: the truth has finally come out. And once the truth becomes public, it cannot be hidden again. Doug has remained surprisingly calm through all of it. In his only public statement so far, he said something that captured the entire situation in one sentence. This isn't about revenge, it's about honesty. Because for 20 years, Doug Christie gave his love, his time, and his identity to a family he believed was completely real. Now he's trying to understand what parts of that life were genuine and what parts were built on silence. As the court prepares for the next phase of the case, the world continues watching closely, not just because it's dramatic, but because the story raises deeper questions about trust, responsibility, and truth inside families. Sometimes secrets stay hidden for years because people are afraid of the damage the truth might cause. But this story shows something powerful. The longer a lie survives, the more painful the truth becomes when it finally appears. And in this situation, that truth has already changed everything. Doug's life, Jackie's reputation, Chris Webber's role in the story, and Chantel's identity. Now, the court will decide what happens next. But one question still lingers in the minds of everyone following this case. If you discovered a secret like this after 20 years, would you fight for justice, or would you try to leave the past behind? Because sometimes the truth doesn't just reveal secrets, sometimes it rewrites entire lives.